Okay, we're live. You can continue.
Okay, then inshallah, I'm starting. Astaghfirullah al-Azim al-Karim alladhi la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum wa natubu ilayhi subhanah. Na'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. As-salatu was-salamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa bihi nasta'in. Amin. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to this week's Saturday discussion. We have been discussing the eighth word, and the eighth word starts with these verses from the Quran. In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. God, there is no God but He, the ever-living, the self-subsistent. Verily, the religion before God is Islam. And in this discussion, we are hoping to understand these verses better and try and engage with them as far as our lives are concerned. And we started the eighth word with a particular question. We were talking about what does God mean? And something that caught my attention from that discussion was we defined God as someone or something that we can tie our expectations to. Someone who can really help. And something or someone who cannot help and who is helpless, who is not a source, cannot be God. And some questions that we talked about in previous discussions were the matter of perspective, which is a very defining theme in this chapter. What is perspective, and to what extent perspective is determinant on our experiences, on our life journey. And this was particularly interesting to me because I had this question for a while, whether or not perspective can really alter everything. First of all, I'm curious about what it is. So I would like to ask you, once again, I am bringing up the discussion about perspective, but because the paragraphs that we are about to read today are very much about perspective, I think it doesn't hurt, inshallah. So may I ask anyone who, and if there is anyone who would like to share their take on what is perspective, please go ahead. But if not, I can, I think, share my own understanding of it. From Qasim, he says, a conclusion drawn from understanding. Well, that's very deep. My understanding of perspective was similar to an attitude. I guess everyone would have a different take of this question, and sharing it would be really helpful for everyone. Something that I found interesting in the story was while the perspective of the two men who are going on a journey in the symbolic story in this chapter, while their perspectives are almost the opposite of each other, the main experiences the main events that they are going through were the same. Both of them went through a garden. Both of them were chased by a lion. Both of them jumped into a well. So the difference in perspective or the difference in their attitude apparently wasn't determining on the particular stops that they were passing by in their journey. However, how they experienced it was very different. So if we go to where we left off last week, we we completed reading the adventures of the pessimistic brother, and we moved on to reading about the positive one. And actually, I would like to read the adventure of the fortunate brother as it is discussed in this chapter from the beginning, from this paragraph, because I think it will help us remember the story. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This fortunate and intelligent person went on his way, but he suffered no distress like his brother. For, due to his fine morals, he thought of good things and imagined good things. Everything was friendly and familiar to him, and he did not suffer any difficulty and hardship like his brother, for he knew the order and followed it. He found it easy. He went on his way freely and in peace and security. Then he came across a garden in which were both lovely flowers and fruits, and, since it was not looked after, rotting and filthy things. His brother had also entered such a garden, but he had noticed and occupied himself with the filthy things, and they had turned his stomach, so he had left it and moved on without being able to rest himself. But this man acted according to the rule, look on the good side of everything, and had paid no attention to the rotting things. He had benefited a lot from the good things, and taking a good rest, he had left and gone on his way. Later, also like the first brother, he had entered a vast desert, and had suddenly heard the roar of a lion which was attacking him. He was frightened, but not as much as his brother, for because of his good thoughts and positive attitude, he thought to himself, "This desert has a ruler, and it is possible that this lion is a servant under the ruler's command," and found consolation. But he still fled until he came across an empty well, 60 yards deep. He threw himself into it. Like his brother, his hand clasped a tree halfway down, and he remained suspended in the air. He looked and saw two animals gnawing through the tree's two roots. He looked up and saw the lion, and looked down and saw the dragon. Just like his brother, he was seeing a most strange situation. He was terrified like him, but his terror was 1,000 times less than his brother's, for his good morals had given him good thoughts, and good thoughts show the good side of everything. So, because of this, he thought as follows: these strange happenings are connected to someone. Also, it seems that they are acting in accordance with a command, in which case these matters contain a talisman. Yes, everything is happening at the command of a hidden ruler. Therefore, I am not alone. The hidden ruler is watching me. He is testing me. He is impelling me somewhere for some purpose. and inviting me there. A curiosity arising from this pleasant fear and these agreeable thoughts prompt me to say, I wonder who it is that is testing me, wants to make himself known, and is impelling me for some purpose on this strange road. Reading this brother's story until here, um, his attitude from the very beginning, um, it was actually defining about his journey. Um, when the two brothers came to the crossroads and they asked for the best way, they were given a guidance, or they were given some news about these two ways, and these news was that on the right road, the travelers have to comply by the order. So there is order on the road on the right side, and the brother who chooses the right side apparently recognizes a certain order, acknowledges an order, and accepts it. So he acknowledges an order and chooses to travel in accordance with it. And from what I understand, his general trust during his journey, the sense of trust, um, is coming from realizing that he is traveling in a land where there is order, and he accepts to act in accordance with the order, so he should be safe. So I guess his perspective being kind of optimistic or positive for us is because he feels this trust in the background, because he does realize that he is traveling within order. So until now, is there anything anyone would like to share about perspective or about the attitude of the two different men?
Sure, I can share.
Oh yeah, please go ahead.
I liked the in the second sentence the phrase due to his good morals. I think. Oh yes, due to his fine morals. Um, I and then it was repeated again later in, when you were reading, and I felt like it's sort of saying this person is like due to his fine morals would mean something like he wouldn't dare to think ill, or he wouldn't, that even in his thought he's assuming well. And as a result he basically started to see the good things. So I thought I just liked that part, that he's referring to also morals or morals.
Thank you. This part, due to his fine morals, makes me think that whether or not these fine morals are referring to being realistic. Because from what I understand from the story, the brother with the fine morals perhaps doesn't force it, or please interfere if I am mistaken, but it seems to me like he doesn't force a certain positivity into his perspective, but he's observing his surroundings, and he does recognize an order, and also he is communicated about an order, and he accepts to travel within that order. So it made me wonder whether or not fine morals fine morals stands for being realistic. But there is also a nuance in the story about thinking good things and imagining good things. So I guess it is not entirely about observing, but perhaps, I don't know. I would like to hear more takeaways and opinions about this, if you'd like, about perspective, whether or not it is self-inflicted or does it come from observing? I guess it is kind of both. Okay. So if there is no one who would like to share their thoughts, I think I will continue to read. But I forgot where we were. Oh, sorry. Asim raised his hand, so please go ahead, Asim.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. So I'm trying to understand the story about the garden. So if this is a good example to think about a little bit. So I'm visiting a garden and I see some fruits that are rotting. So there are 2 points of focus I can have, and some that are flourishing. And we encounter this situation daily in our day-to-day activities. Basically, if I am indulging in a particular situation, I may be focusing on, maybe some negative aspect of it and worrying about nonsensically and not seeing the reality of those things. Whereas I have the option also to take that maybe think of it as more positively. Now, in this story, for example, the attitude, as you mentioned about, the good morals, fine morals, and the being settled in one's position is also there. And the perspective that the individual with the positive morals is to pay attention to the good things. And there's this kind of ignorance or just not paying that much attention to the negative side or the rotting side. So look to the bright side of the things. And this is like a major shift in one's perspective, I would say. And I mean, there is that rotting that you cannot deny that existence, that there's some fruits and there's some plants that are rotting, but the shift moving from that position to a new way of looking at something, that, hey, these things are transient and I am here as traveling, as you mentioned also. And I am looking at the goodness in the things that are there. So it's a view that is more in tune with, the fine morals, as the author kind of words it that way. So that particular focus in that good things is, I think, something I'm trying to reconcile with, how that movement and staying in that positivity works.
Thank you. I think a certain claim that we encounter in our daily lives is sometimes when we do choose to look at the good side of things, we do come across this objection that goes, but you are being irresponsible and neglectful, and you are not assessing the situation in its fullest sense, but you prefer to only look on the good side of things. And I guess the only way to be able to look on the good side of things um, relies on realizing that we are living in a realm that in which there is an order, and if there is an order, then everything, including myself, should have a particular purpose or function that is appropriate to uh, everything. And and if there is an order, that also means that everything, including the rotting and filthy things, are are accounted for, and they are being taken care of. They will be taken care of. And if that is not my duty to engage myself with rotting and filthy things, and if that is not my duty, and if I have a different duty for a different purpose, if my life serves a different function, then I can, if I am educated about this situation, then I can focus on the good things, because then I would know that I am, I would know that I can actually focus on the good side of things. And I don't have to busy myself with the rotting and filthy things. They do have a function within an order. And it ends up being beneficial if we do observe the full life cycle of the things that we immediately label as rotting and filthy. So I guess yeah, again I will repeat it. I will repeat my conclusion about it, but um, I guess only through realizing that there is an order, and it is a it is a working order with wisdom, and yeah, it is a working order with wisdom, that I can be comfortable with only looking or only focusing on the good side of things, and only interacting with the rotting things as much as necessary. If I need to understand that they exist and they do serve a purpose, perhaps that is what is expected of my interaction with them. I don't know, but so is there anyone who would like to share their thoughts on this subject? Because it can be, my perspective must be limited, and I would really benefit from your take too about this question. Okay. Um, if anyone can gather their thoughts later on, then please feel free to join whenever you feel comfortable. Okay, so I am moving on. He had benefited a lot from the good things, and taking a good rest, he had left and gone on his way. Okay, we read this part. This part where, like the first brother, he had entered a vast desert and had suddenly heard the roar of a lion which was attacking him. He was frightened, but not as much as his brother. For, because of his good thoughts and positive attitude, he thought to himself, "This desert has a ruler, and it is possible that this lion is a servant under the ruler's command," and found consolation. But he still fled until he came across an empty well 60 yards deep. He threw himself into it. Like his brother, his hand clasped the tree halfway down, and he remained suspended in the air. So, being frightened, encountering danger, being suspended in the air, these elements seem to be belonging to the human story, and this is this is what everyone goes through, from what I understand from this story. The brother with the positive attitude goes through these experiences, but experiences it differently. Um, his trust, which is something we also talked about in previous discussions, his trust in a ruler um, diminishes his fear, and his fear in comparison to the other brother who did not acknowledge an order is much smaller and manageable perhaps. He remained suspended in the air. He looked and saw two animals gnawing through the tree's two roots. He looked up and saw the lion, and looked down and saw the dragon. Just like his brother, he was seeing a most strange situation. He was terrified like him, but his terror was 1,000 times less than his brother, for his good morals had given him good thoughts, and good thoughts show the good side of everything. So because of this, he thought as follows. Hmm. Good morals had given him good thoughts. Because of this, he thought as follows. These strange happenings are connected to someone. Reading this part, I guess this character that we are following his story moves on from realizing the order to the agency of the one who is operating these things. And so there is a now he does come to a different conclusion. Um, these strange happenings are connected to someone. Also, it seems that they are acting in accordance with a command. And so while he is talking about his own observance and his own conclusion, our goal as readers and people who are trying to understand and experience these problems, questions, matters, and try and confirm the claims that we are presented with. I guess we can also try and see if we are living in a realm that is functioning within an order. The first things that come to my mind is that um, the nature of communication comes to my mind, because it is such a complex mechanism. Two different beings, they are given the necessary tools and mechanisms to understand, to decode, process, and understand a message um, when they receive it as an input, and they are also given the necessary mechanisms uh, to have an output. And the other being they are communicating with receives this, again, can process it, can decode it, can understand what it means, and give a response. So the beings in the universe, including human beings or animals or anything, they seem to be working, they seem to be compatible with each other. So I and a cat can communicate, and we are giving such mechanisms and tools that we do process, we can receive each other's messages, and we seem to be compatible with each other. So only looking at the communication side of things, I can realize that there is not only an order, but it is very sophisticated and so strange and incredible. And when I look at the beings that are communicating, that are doing this act of communication, unless they are educated and taught, there is no way they can even know how these mechanisms work or what is communication. Unless they are educated about it, they don't know it, but they are using it. But the fact that they don't know it um, tells me that they did not create it or they did not make it. Such an intelligent system, but the ones who are using it, they don't know what it is. It is a curious case for me, and these strange happenings, when I see that, um, it reminded me of that, and also it reminds me of how babies and human beings are created. When in their mother's womb, the mother only carries them, but the mother seems to be the number one um, person related to a baby. However, unless a mother is educated about it, there is no way she can know what is going on, what it takes to make a human being, um, uh, countless mechanisms in a human being's system. What are they and how they are created? A mother seems to be the closest person and the most in charge person, but unless educated, she doesn't know how a human being comes into existence. So again, a very strange happening. And this brother with the good morals and good perspective in the story uh, went on to conclude that these strange happenings are connected to someone. Also, it seems that they are acting in accordance with a command. So these strange happenings everywhere, they seem to be in connection. They are compatible with each other. They are operating in harmony. And it seems that they are acting in accordance with a command. In which case, these matters contain a talisman. Yes, everything is happening at the command of a hidden ruler. Therefore, I am not alone. The hidden ruler is watching me, he is testing me, he is impelling me somewhere for some purpose, and inviting me there. A curiosity arising from this pleasant fear, and these agreeable thoughts prompt me to say, I wonder who it is that is testing me, wants to make himself known, and is impelling me for some purpose on this strange road. So at this point, I would like to ask anyone who would like to share their thoughts about everything that we talked about so far. This observation of this brother that goes, also it seems that they are acting in accordance with a command. I think the only way we can confirm it in our lives is that we also need to observe carefully. And yeah, in which case there's a chat, there's a message in the chat box. Oh, Brother Ali, if your hand was up, sorry, I didn't see that. Please go ahead.
It was going well. I don't want to interrupt you, but at the same time, to make this discussion in a active manner, you know. So I wanted to also join to share my ideas. So what we understand from this picture so far, of course, there will be some more explanations on this matter. The main subject, as you said, I mean, everything is said so far was beautiful. There is no God, but there is no deity, a divine being, but He, who is He, the ever living and self-sustenant. Self-sustenant. So, what we understand from that, um, there is no God. What does it mean? There is no God within the context of there is no deity, within the context of this comparison, this parable, or whatever you call them. Two people, two persons are compared with each other according to the attitude they take towards the creation, towards the world. So what attracted my attention that the author was very careful that the conditions of life, conditions of the order of the universe never change within itself according to our attitude. But everything depends on our attitude, uh, our decisions, our intentions. Maybe we can also call this matter our being free thinking without no prejudices, without no previously established ideas, just thinking as we are made, created, or let's call it as our disposition allows us to do. Accordingly, in the order of the universe, although the order of the universe doesn't change, order of the universe doesn't change, because of the change in my attitude, the relationship between me and the order, as also as a moderator you pointed out this matter, I appreciated that one. The order doesn't change, but the relationship between me and the order changes according to my attitude. What does it mean? Order has been established in such a way that, as you said, I appreciated all these fine points actually. As you said, the moderator, said, our way of creation or existence is adapted to the universe in such a way that everything will change according to my attitude towards the creation, not according to the order of the universe. Order of the universe is established, it is stable, it is constant. But my attitude makes everything different for myself, only for myself, not for others. That is very important, that our attitude towards the creation is very important. Of course, what the parable presents us, that with good moral, good personality, good character, but it doesn't mean that some people are created in a bad personality, in or with a bad morality. No, everybody is created almost equal. I don't know whether it's exactly equal or what. Created in equal terms in order to derive the conclusion from the creation outside the world, so that their feelings, their understandings will treat them according to their attitude, will treat them, and they will experience life according to, again, their attitude. They will think positively, they will suffer, they will feel pain, etc., but according to our attitude. So it's amazing to be aware that we have no right to complain what is going on outside of us. What does it mean? There may be some other people using their free will and hurting us or doing something wrong. That is different. But my feelings, my attitude towards the creation, the world, will have the same effect on me according to my choice. So we have to be extremely careful. What this second person did in the parable, the second person said, look, there is a perfect order because it is strange things are going on. I'm going back to the beginning of the story. It's because there is one tree, and on the tree there are completely different fruits, thousands of different fruits on it. It can't be accidental. It must be arranged, because every fruit in and of itself is in itself is perfect, not of itself. I'm sorry. So every fruit is perfect as one single fruit. The other one is perfect as in a completely different fruit. It means everything is perfect according to their capacity, or according to them. They are growing, they are reproducing the seeds and whatever, however they are created or made. So he said, no, this doesn't seem to be an ordinary matter at all. It is something strange. That's why he said, he himself said, this desert is a ruler. And it is possible that this lion is a servant under the ruler's command. Because the lion is for everyone, for me, for you, everyone. Because we know that time, the continuation of the creation, is pushing us. We cannot resent it, pushing us and getting us ready to death. We know that. That is the line. Everybody has this feeling, but some people closes their eyes, don't want to see the line, don't think about it, but it never changes the reality. That is how the order of the universe has been established. So we have to pay attention that I have to think, I have to understand that I have to work on the universe, see the universe, how it has been established. Is it possible that it can happen by itself? Is it possible that something else within the universe is really manipulating, administering, taking care of, and managing the affairs of the universe. If I don't see any factor, any agent within the universe, again, as you said it, I see there is someone, but hidden. Hidden doesn't mean that he is, or that someone, or that's a conscious being who has established the order of the universe is hiding from me. No, I cannot really find it within the universe. I don't see anything in the universe which has this quality so that he will be the source of existence of this order of the universe. However, it works now. So that is hidden from me. That's what we have to understand. The people say, if there was God, he should show himself in one way or another. Yeah, what do you mean by God? God is the creator of the universe. So, creator of the universe cannot be within the universe. Otherwise, he himself would be a created piece within the universe. It's contradictory. It's logically unacceptable. So what we understand from this, that we have to see, so understand that the owner of the order of this universe, we can call it the orderer, the originator, the source of the universe, is hidden from my sight. But it doesn't mean that it is hidden from my mind. It is hidden from my feelings. But I cannot see it, but I can understand that definitely such a being must exist. We have to establish this within ourselves. This is the result of an open-minded human being thinking about the realities apparent out there in the universe. We are not referring thus far as the story goes to a religion, which means if I am encountering with anything that I don't like, anything that frightens me, anything that causes me somehow pain, I would make sure that this cannot be an ordinary, a haphazard activity. There must be a reason behind creating this situation for me, because the order of the universe requires that everything which contributes to the order of the universe, it means a part of the order of the universe, is deliberately arranged by the one who created the universe. So I have to come back to myself. So these things that I am experiencing now, or for the falling into a 6-yard, whatever, 60-yard or whatever distance, it means, I think, average human life. It means the life span of a human being, and then going down and down, and suddenly we stop and said, what is going on in the world? That is the age of what? Puberty, they call it, or age of majority, whatever they call it. So that is, we realize that this cannot happen accidentally. Let me see what is going on. Oh, there's day, night arrangements, solar system out there, and the seasons out there, and the things are growing, and also my life is slowly is being taken away from me, and I'm getting slowly to fall into the deep, dark bottom of the well. So it means that is human reality. No one can deny it. Something is going on strange out there, and the time is passing. As the time passes, we are getting closer to something dramatic, if you like, which we don't like it. No one likes it. Everybody wants to survive in this world as long as possible, as much as possible in good conditions. That is what is happening so far I understood. So that the person said, definitely everything is happening under the will, the command is really under the order of the one who has established this universe, and I am not alone. Yes, I fear that something is going wrong. Uh, it means I'm going to fall into the, if you like, grave. My body will go there, or I will die, but it doesn't mean that it is an accidental event. No, I am not alone. The orderer of the universe must be aware of my situation because he is the one who created this situation. He is the one who created my feelings. He is the one who gave me the free will to choose this way or another way. It means ignore the order of the universe, or acknowledge that there is an owner who gets hold of the whole universe under his command, under his, if you like, control, creatorship, whatever. So you say, okay, let me do what I am supposed to do now. Rather than frightened of the uh, dragon at the bottom, it means grave, or uh, pushing time, the time which pushes me towards the mouth of the grave. And also black and white mice, because time is passing every day. I will say, okay, this is a well-arranged thing that I am being here on the text says on a test. It means I have to solve this problem by obeying the order of the universe, but bearing in mind that this order has a conscious owner. Then you always feel that this owner is with you because he is aware of what he's creating. Why? Because order never fails. He is aware of what he's doing. Continuously changes but never fails. Always order keeps uh, being an order. Always order changes but never becomes a disorder. Everything is orderly, happens order. I like or I don't like, whatever it is happening within an order. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Ali. Um, yes, Belle, you also raised your hand, so please go ahead. I might be mispronouncing your name, but um, oh, you put it down. Okay. Um, okay then. If there's anyone who would like to share their thoughts, please go ahead. But if not, we can go on reading. I wonder who it is that is testing me, wants to make himself known, and is impelling me for some purpose on this strange road. Then love for the owner of the talisman arose out of the desire to know him, and from that love arose the desire to solve the talisman. And from that desire arose the will to acquire good qualities which would please and gratify the talisman's owner. Then he looked at the tree and saw it was a fig tree, but it was bearing the fruits of thousands of trees. So then all his fear left him, for he understood that for certain the fig tree was a list, an index, an exhibition. The hidden ruler must have attached samples of the fruits in the garden to the tree through a miracle and with a talisman, and must have adorned the tree in a way that would point to each of the foods he had prepared for his guest. For there is no other way a single tree could produce the fruits of thousands of different trees. Then he began to entreat that he would be inspired with the key to the talisman. So after concluding that this order has an orderer, a love for the owner of the talisman arose out of the desire to know him. So experiencing this strange and um, strange, amazing, and wondrous creation around us, and um, and if we can conclude that there is an orderer, there is someone that holds everything in his command, I think it comes kind of naturally that we would want to know that one. And um, also, I would like to ask your takeaway from love for the owner of the talisman. Um, about this part, what I understand is again thinking through an example. If I read a book or listen to a musical piece, and I am in awe of it. I really love it. I love the artistry in it. I love the wisdom of the maker, and I love how it is presented. Um, what I love here turns out to be the one who is producing it, rather than the artwork itself, because the artwork only demonstrates the qualities of the artist. So if there is something lovable or admirable in the artwork itself is not the one to be loved. The artist is the true owner of those qualities. So acknowledging this order and observing it and experiencing the many qualities, many lovable, admirable qualities like like justice and mercy and wisdom and beauty and countless qualities, and love for the true owner of this um, lovely qualities um, would come naturally, I think. Then, when I say naturally, I mean we are created in a way that we do we we love these things. If there's something to be loved, we love it, I guess. Then love for the owner of the talisman arose out of the desire to know him, and from that love arose the desire to solve the talisman. So the order that follows follows the conclusions that the brothers, the travelers are going following, are especially the one who does acknowledge the order and um, who does realize that there must be a commander operating all this. So first of all, he realized the order, and then the owner, the orderer, and when he realized the existence of the orderer, a love for the orderer arose in him, and from that love, he wanted to get to know the orderer, and he wants to solve the talisman. He wants to find out the meanings behind what he is encountering, and he also needs to be saved from being suspended in the air. And from that desire arose the will to acquire good qualities which would please and gratify the talisman's owner. Then he looked at the tree and saw it was a fig tree, but it was bearing the fruits of thousands of trees. So yet another strange occurring, a tree, but bearing the fruits of thousands of trees. So then all his fear left him, for he understood that for certain the fig tree was a list, an index, an exhibition. The hidden ruler must have attached samples of the fruits in the garden to the tree through a miracle and with a talisman, and must have adorned the tree in a way that would point to each of the foods he had prepared for his guest. So the traveler here, all throughout his journey, he he was traveling within an order that actually was demonstrating the qualities of the orderer. And now he encounters a very overt list, an index, an exhibition prepared by this orderer in the form of a fig tree that bears all the fruits, which is a very strange thing. However, he concludes that the orderer, the owner must have adorned the tree in a way that would point to each of the foods he had prepared for his guests. So throughout his journey, the traveler encounters various lists and indexes, if we can call it that, bearing names of the owner. For there is no other way a single tree could produce the fruits of thousands of different trees. Then he began to entreat that he would be inspired with the key to the talisman. He called out, "O ruler of this place, I have happened upon you, and I take refuge with you. I am your servant, and I want to please you. I am searching for you." After he had made this supplication, the walls of the well suddenly parted, and a door opened onto a wonderful, pleasant, quiet garden. Indeed, the dragon's mouth was transformed into the door, and both it and the lion took on the forms of two servants. They invited him to enter. The lion even became a docile horse for him. So in the end of the parabolic story, after going through his conclusions, our traveler finally concluded that the only way to be saved from being suspended in the air, and the only way to be informed about the meaning behind this setting would be uh, communicating with the owner who is watching me and testing me and impelling me in this journey for some reason. So after coming to this realization, he goes ahead to communicate with this hidden ruler. He calls out to him, and he takes refuge in him, and he says, I am your servant and I want to please you. I am searching for you. So his entreaty is so intense. First of all, he appeals to the ruler of the place. He addresses the ruler directly, and he says, I have happened upon you. So does that mean I am in your hands and I take refuge with you? And he acknowledges that I am your servant and I want to please you. And then he goes out to say, I am searching for you. So he also finds out what he had been searching for in his journey. But it has been a journey for him to come to that conclusion, to find that. After he had made this supplication, the walls of the well suddenly parted, and a door opened onto a wonderful, pleasant, quiet garden. So our traveler was taken from that situation of being suspended in the air with the dragon under him and the lion above him. And the dragon's mouth was transformed into the door, and both it and the lion took on the forms of two servants, and the traveler enters a wonderful, pleasant, quiet garden. So he does find security. And what he was escaping from, the lion and dragon, they transform into two servants for him. So the situation transforms for him in a way that he would be saved from his predicament, and also hopefully go on to find out the meanings. But finding out that there was a ruler, there was a true owner of this realm, must be the main answer he was looking for, or it can be. So, is there anything you would like to share? Now we are about to read the explanations of this symbolic story. If nobody wants to share anything, I guess I can start reading it. Oh my lazy soul, and oh my imaginary friend. Come, let us compare the position of these two brothers, so that we can see how good comes of good and evil comes of evil. Let us find out. Look, the unhappy traveler on the left road is all the time trembling with fear, waiting to enter the dragon's mouth, while the fortunate one is invited into a blooming, splendid garden full of fruit. And the unfortunate one's heart is being pounded by an awful terror and grievous fear, while the fortunate one is gazing at and observing strange things as a delightful lesson, with a pleasant fear and loving knowledge. Also, the miserable one is suffering torments in desolation, despair, and loneliness, while the fortunate one is enjoying himself, full of hope, longing, and a sense of belonging. Furthermore, the unfortunate one sees himself as a prisoner, subject to the attacks of wild beasts, while the fortunate one is an honored guest who is on friendly terms and enjoying himself with the strange servants of his generous host. Also the unhappy one is hastening his torments by indulging in fruits which are apparently delicious but in fact poisonous. For the fruits are samples. There is permission to taste them, so as to seek the originals and become customers for them, but there is no permission to devour them like an animal. But the fortunate one tastes them and understands the matter, he postpones eating them and takes pleasure in waiting. Moreover, the unfortunate one is wronging himself. Through his lack of discernment, he is making a truth and a situation which are as clear and bright as daylight into a dark and oppressive fear, into a hellish delusion. He does not deserve pity, nor does he have the right to complain to anyone. For example, if a person at a pleasant banquet in a beautiful garden in summer among his friends makes himself drunk through filthy intoxicants, then imagines himself hungry and naked in the middle of winter among wild animals and starts shouting out and crying, he does not deserve to be pitied. He is wronging himself and he is insulting his friends by imagining them to be wild beasts. Thus the unfortunate brother is like this, but the fortunate one sees the truth, and the truth is good. Through the perceiving the beauty of truth, the fortunate brother is being respectful towards the truth's owner, so he deserves his mercy. Thus the meaning of the Quranic decree, know that evil is from yourself and good is from God, becomes clear. If you make a comparison of other differences in the same way, you will understand that the evil commanding soul of the first brother has prepared a sort of hell for him, while the good intention, goodwill, good character, and good thoughts of the other have allowed him to receive abundant bounty, experience true happiness and prosperity, and display shining virtue. So going back to the beginning of this explanation, there is a comparison of the position of these two brothers, and like we talked about, even though they went through the same experiences, they themselves experienced it quite differently. And the author says, good comes of good and evil comes of evil. So in order to understand this better, I think we should move on to, again, looking through this explanation. So in the comparison that we are presented with, the unhappy traveler who chose not to acknowledge the order, he is all the time trembling with fear, waiting to enter the dragon's mouth. Not acknowledging the order leaves him in his own perspective to his own devices. In his own perspective, now he has to take care of himself, and everything that he encounters might turn out to be a very dangerous enemy threatening his life and his well-being. While the fortunate one, the one who does acknowledge an order and who does agree to travel within that order, he is invited into a blooming, splendid garden of fruits. This is about their endings. And the unfortunate one's heart is being pounded by an awful terror and grievous fear, while the fortunate one is gazing at and observing strange things as a delightful lesson. So everything that he encounters, that he observes as strange and wondrous and bearing deeper meanings, he finds them to be delightful lessons, and with a pleasant fear, and he gazes at them with a pleasant fear and loving knowledge. So the fear that this traveler goes through is a pleasant fear, because he does acknowledge that there is an order and an orderer, and everything he encounters turns out to be a delightful lesson for him. So the fear he has turns out to be a pleasant one and loving knowledge. Also, the miserable one is suffering torments in desolation, despair, and loneliness, while the fortunate one is enjoying himself, full of hope, longing, and a sense of belonging. Furthermore, the unfortunate one sees himself as a prisoner subject to the attacks of wild beasts, while the fortunate one is an honored guest who is on friendly terms and enjoying himself with the strange servants of his generous host. The perspective of each of these travelers really prepares complete different experiences for them. And Jezbel, you raise your hand, and apologies if I am not reading your name correctly, but please go ahead.
No, you got it perfectly right. Thank you. Um, the topic is so hard to comment on because it's so abstract, and I've been trying to get the words. But I had a thing happen to me, or I saw something earlier this year, and I feel like it fits the story a little bit. And it maybe casts me as a person who's like the good brother. I'm not trying to make myself that way.
No
But in
problem.
any case, I remember the date of it because I made a note in my mind to look it up at some point. I went outside, I was staring at the sky. I was living in the part of the country where you can see the sky really well at night. And after years in Brooklyn, it was my favorite thing to go outside and just look up and look at the stars. And all of a sudden I thought I was losing my mind because I saw like a movement of, it looked like stars of lights in the sky, one after the other, in like a line, like perfectly spaced, one after the other. And I couldn't figure out if I was actually seeing it because there's so many stars in the sky. So I'm staring and I'm like, no, it definitely is like it looks almost like a line of stars. Is it a meteor shower? Is it a flight path? So I'm going through all these things in my mind and I'm just like, what's going on in the sky? I don't know. And I don't know how to figure it out. And then I just decided I can't be the only person that is seeing this right now. Someone else must have seen it. And there must be an explanation for this. I don't know what it is at this moment, but at some point I'm going to look it up. And I remember the date. It was somewhere around the 15th. And I was like, I know if I remember the date and where I am, and I Google, a description of what it is that I saw, I can probably figure out what it was. And ultimately, if I don't ever know, it's not something that's going to rock my mind so much that I go crazy or, think that the world is coming to an end. And I mentioned that to say, for a moment, in that moment, I imagined myself without the experience that I have in the world that tells me that I can research, that tells me that just a common knowledge that I'm not the only person that looks at the sky, and that if I see something strange, I'm probably not the only one who's seen it, so that I can go to others and hear from them what they've gathered from it if I'm having trouble sorting myself out around it. But if I didn't know those things, if I couldn't assume those things to be true, I might look up at the sky, even outside of me and my story in the current moment. If you put me in a different location, in a different culture, in a different period of time, something like that could be really jarring for a person if you don't have some sort of foundation to ground it in. So I feel like this story, for instance, when you talk about one brother of good moral character and another of bad moral character, what does that mean? It can become very abstract. If you ground goodness in, for instance, an understanding of the truth, right? Because reality relies on perception, but truth is foundational. It doesn't change. 2 + 2 is always going to be 4, no matter if you were born short or tall or in one part of the hemisphere or another. There are things that always remain the same. So I feel like when you go through an experience, say for instance, you fall, if you don't have any sort of foundational grounding and an understanding of the world, if you don't understand gravity, if you don't understand your nervous system, that on impact is going to have a sensational response, one of pain, if the impact is traumatizing or it causes injury. If you don't understand these things, the world will seem crazy to you potentially as you grapple with ways to explain things that are really quite simple that you don't understand. But if you have a basic understanding that even of something simple like a concept of gravity, you trip and you fall, you're not going to take it personally. You're not going to feel like you're damned on this earth. You're not going to feel like it
We
was an
lost
attack.
your voice.
Oh, I'm sorry. In
Did
any
you,
case,
by any chance, mute yourself?
I don't think I'm muted. I don't know what happened. Hello, hello, hello.
Well,
It's fine here.
Can you hear me?
let me
Oh,
quickly
well,
check.
I don't want to
Still
ramble too
connected?
much.
Ah,
But my point is it's broad what I'm trying to say. But and you can talk about it completely outside of religion or outside of Islam. But a basic understanding of the truth is going to color the way that you take in reality and the way that you understand yourself. So that's I think what it is I'm trying to say in a smaller way.
thank you for sharing your experience and your comments. That was very much related to our topic about experiencing um, wondrous, strange things around us, and our perspective being very much shaped by our understanding, um, whether we do have a grounding or not. And thank you for that. And uh, Alia also raises her hand. So please go ahead, Alia.
So my like what caught my attention is the same, is this idea that the way you view reality changes how you feel. And the experience that I had was one time we were in a meeting and we were all in this hotel, but one of the group had a VIP, sort of pass to the VIP lounge in the hotel. And he wanted to meet with me to discuss, something about the presentation. So I went upstairs and they have their full breakfast buffet, and he put things for himself and for me, and we discussed. But then he needed to leave before he needed to leave earlier, and I still wanted to finish working on the things that we discussed. So it was very interesting because when he was there with me, I felt I'm a guest, in this space, and I'm the honored guest. But when he left, I was like, what if someone came up to me and said, what room are you in? Do you have the VIP pass or not? I had all of those feelings inside me. And then I thought wow, look how at one point I felt, look at me here, I'm eating this place. This is so beautiful. I feel so special. And then nothing changed except in my head that, that I am not that special guest. And I think that's what happens, that when you realize you're a special guest, you're an honored guest, then you receive things in a different way than if you think I'm sneaking in food, do I have the right to do this or not? As if you're fending for yourself, as if you're homeless. So it's everything is the same except the way you see things. So thanks.
Thank you. That was very helpful and like a nice recap of what we talked about perspective. And we have 2 minutes left. I guess what mostly strikes me about what we discussed today was how the traveler finds the solution. So this is very interesting to me because the traveler chooses to reach out to the owner that he realizes the existence of. Um, that I found very interesting and very brave. But thinking about it, again, in the way that we are created as children, we do ask, we do articulate what we need to the ones that are responsible from taking care of us. Or in a classroom, we do communicate our needs and concerns with a teacher. So it is only very appropriate and natural that the traveler would reach out to the owner of, to the ruler of that realm that he is traveling in. And he also comes to the conclusion that this ruler is watching me. So he is aware of me and he is watching me and testing me and guiding me through a certain direction for some purpose. So in order to be able to find out what that is, the most direct and perhaps the most sensible, the most reasonable action to take would be simply reaching out to this owner that we realize that he is watching us and he is guiding us through a certain direction for some purpose. So if he knows my situation, then the first thing that I can do could be communicating to him. And other than communicating to him, I would still be suspended in the air, and I wouldn't be able to learn the meanings of everything that I'm going through, the meanings behind everything. So, Jess Bell, go ahead, please. You raised your hand.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I just hadn't taken it down from before.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks. Is there anything anyone would like to share or add before closing? Okay, then. If no one wants to share anything, I am making the closing prayers. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. السر سورة